Hey everyone, this is Secular Sekai with Tridents Against Tyrants. And, alright, yeah, we're 11 minutes past the hour. So should have stuff figured out now and ready to go. One thing that was mentioned in the last stream, for anyone who tuned in last week, um, first of all, give me a plus plus if you can hear me in the chat. Oh, let's see. Okay, perfect. I see a few. Okay, so I'm still coughing. Yeah, I mean it's not as bad as it was before, but I've just had a lingering cough. Um, yeah, it's really not as bad as it was before. So it slowly has gotten better. I've already seen the doctor. Um, what else? Um, okay. First and foremost, um, I was notified that last time the automatic uh, there's echo and mechanical whining sound. Okay, hold on. I know what the problem is. 1 second. Oh, that's weird. Okay, so for some reason it's not going through the microphone that it should. Which is weird because it's set to the correct microphone. Hold on. Okay. Well, that's really annoying. Anyway, Nightbot wasn't working, I was told last time, so I tried something to see about fixing that. And I also added in to Nightbot the Taiwan fundraiser. But I need to get this microphone fixed. Hold on 1 sec. I will be right back while I work on that. Okay, is that better? Because there we go. I was able to find what the source of the issue was. All right. Okay, so does the sound is the sound better now? Let me know. Or about the same. Okay, perfect. Okay, next thing I was having to rush to get ready for the stream. I apologize, but I have a lot of things I do outside of the channel, and I still don't have a co-host. So, again, still looking for one. As soon as I find one, I can more easily coordinate with someone and kind of improve this, so I'm not having to run from one thing to the next. But right now, there was a I'm traveling and I was caught up in an area that had pretty bad storm activity. So let me see. The internet doesn't seem to be all that strong. Let me see if I can get onto a wired connection right quick so we don't have connection and audio issues because of a slow network. One sec. Okay, there we go. Hopefully that'll improve the connection speed a little bit. But, alright, here we go. Sorry about that. Next step. Alright, we're good. We should be good on audio. We should be good with the connection speed, hopefully. And there we go. Nightbot is posting. So it was, I don't know if anyone was in the last stream and they noticed that the Nightbot wasn't doing the automatic posts for links and stuff. Let me know. But somebody told me that, so I looked into it and I think it should be fixed now. All right, that's pretty much all of the big stuff. All right, next we've got several pieces of news to cover. I want to say thank you to everyone who donated last time. We are at 10,221.92 hryvnia for more of the FPV drones for the 110th Mechanized Brigade. And we're at, it's very small on my screen, but let me see, there we go, $136.20 toward the 500 for radios for Taiwan civil defense. So, yeah, that should also be getting posted regularly. It's in the description and should also be in the chat now, posting, I think, every 10 minutes. So, yeah. All right. Okay. Hi from Munich. Good evening, all. Let's see. I see it wasn't me. K&K's GG. Miro. Elegant Mess. Mitch Ashdown. I think, so Anna wasn't able to make it today, I don't believe. She is busy with another event she has to take care of this weekend. But yeah, all right, let's keep going. So, again, please be sure to share the stream on Discord, on Facebook, on Blue Sky, wherever you do social media. I'm discouraging people from using Twitter/X, shitter as I call it, because Elon Musk is no friend to Ukraine, and you know, Starlink and Tesla and X, all of that stuff. I just have nothing to do with any of it. But any other social media, feel free to share on. Yeah. All right, and with that, everything should be good to go now. So let me pull up some news articles. Well, actually, they're already pulled up. Let me just put them into the correct reader mode. All right. So we're going to start with the title of the video, which is President Volodymyr Zelensky and the topic of the situation in Kursk. All right, let me put that into the chat. Oh, and I'm going to update the spelling so it has the diacritics and everything so it looks more correct. But when you see the link in chat for the Taiwan defense group, civil defense group, I know it looks like King Bun, but that is King Bun. And that is that's the Latinized spelling of his name. So the pronunciation is actually King Bun. But usually it would have the extra markings on it when you're translating from Mandarin to English. So yeah, I will correct that for the next stream. But yeah, that is almost the correct spelling. It's just missing the punctuation accent marks. All right, now then. Okay. So let me open this. And I'll take that down for now. Okay. All right. From President Zelensky, the Kursk operation has achieved its objective. This is from pravda.com.ua, English language of the website, version of the website. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has asserted that Ukraine's defense forces have achieved the Kursk operation's principal objective of drawing Russian soldiers away from the cities of Pokrovsk and Sumy and the Kharkiv front. Source being Zelensky during a meeting with journalists, as reported by Ukrinvorum. And, quote, the situation in Kursk Oblast is understandably very difficult. The objective of the Kursk operation was to divert enemy forces from Pokrovsk, the Kharkiv front, and Sumy. Our soldiers are absolutely heroic. They have taken a heavy blow. The first objective was to ease the pressure on the Kharkiv front. The Russians moved as many of their troops as possible from there to Kursk. Then they started withdrawing forces from the eastern front, but did not abandon their main objective, Pokrovsk. We understood all of this. Zelensky noted that the situation on the Pokrovsk and Kharkiv fronts has been stabilized thanks to the Kursk operation. The president also thanked the soldiers for their efforts in the Kursk operation, stating that it had fulfilled its mission. Quote, I believe it had accomplished its objective. I think the situation on the Pokrovsk front is now stable, and it will be very difficult for the Russians to find another opportunity to occupy Pokrovsk. Background, the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine has denied reports that Ukrainian units in Russia's Kursk Oblast are encircled as Russian leader Vladimir Putin and U.S. President Donald Trump have claimed. So, there are a lot of articles on this topic, but yeah, Ukrainian troops are tactically retreating from the Kursk Oblast, and there's a troop buildup. So Ukrainian troops are now preparing the border with Kursk, and really just the rest of the northern front, the northern border, in case there might be an attack by Russians anywhere along there. And if there is, Ukraine will be ready to respond. There are a lot of fortifications and preparations ready to protect Kiev and the rest of the north. So this is really really, this is just to avoid excessive loss of Ukrainian soldiers, um, and having Kursk as a bargaining chip of sorts. You know, if we look at this objectively, then yes, the operation did achieve its objectives of drawing troops away, and yes, it also did help out a bit with, you know, a hardline stance of, needing to negotiate over the topic of Kursk from the onset. However, we of course can't ignore the fact that long term it would be better if, whether it's European allies or the U.S. in a different scenario with a different president, were assisting to reinforce Ukraine enough that they could give supplies to the soldiers in Kursk and hold it a bit longer for negotiations. Um, I don't even like bringing up negotiations at all. Of course, we all want Ukraine to be fully whole and to take back all occupied Ukrainian territory. Um, it's also possible, I haven't seen a lot of news reports on this topic, it's possible that the pullback from Kursk might have already been part of conversations that not all of us are privy to. Um, I doubt that. I do highly doubt that, mostly because any attempts at negotiations uh, mediated by the Trump administration have fallen completely flat. Um, so it would probably, if there were such a conversation, it would probably have been one between, Ukraine and a different government. Turkey being one example, but again, that's all speculation. Basically, don't listen to any of that. That is like, I wouldn't say wishful thinking, more like just speculation for the sake of a thought experiment. The reality just is that this war is one that has taken a toll on both the Ukrainian side and the Russian side. And Ukraine has to pick and choose where they station their men and where they fight. And if it's going to be anywhere, it's going to be on Ukrainian land and territory, not in Kursk, which always was meant to be um, a diversion or a tactic for um, basically forcing Russia to pay attention to a different front instead of the Eastern Front. Pullback in Kursk not from, at least so far in my understanding. Oh, that's a good question, McShashdown. Well, my understanding is that it's not a complete and total pullback as of yet, but all the indicators, including civilian evacuation in different regions on the Ukrainian side of the border near Kursk, it indicates that there will be a full withdrawal from Kursk, most likely. Let me go take a look. Bryansk. Come on. Oriol, Kursk. But yes, you are correct. At this time, it is pulling back within Kursk, but not fully from Kursk. But that's why I put the title of this as Tactical Retreat. Because the fact of the matter is, in fact, here, right quick, let's take a look at the map real fast. And go to, here we go. There's Kursk. There's the Oblast. And as of, March 15th, as of today, this is the situation. So as you can see, if I go back, you can see that Russia has been really pushing to take back Kursk, and Ukraine has been pulling back. But again, remember, this is the Russian side of the border. So really, this is just Ukraine pulling back to defend their own border. Um, and you'll notice that there is a small sliver right here, a tiny sliver, that is the Ukrainian side that is occupied by Russian troops. But beyond that, um, the rest of this so far has not fallen under fire control. So the rest of the situation around here seems to be pretty stable at the moment. Ukraine, since 2022, has strongly fortified their side, heading toward Sumy, heading toward. Let me zoom out. Come on. Yeah, there we go. So, Bryansk and Kursk, all of this, especially all of this up to the north, is strongly fortified. All of this down here, there's now a troop buildup. There are a lot of troops on the Russian side, but the real question is whether they're going to try to attack Ukraine from this direction and head towards Sumy. And if they did, then I think it would not end well for the Russian side. Now, again, I'll need to look more closely. I don't want to make any assumptions, but my understanding is that there should be pretty good fortifications prepared in this direction. If I'm mistaken, or if there's like a large swath of countryside that is vulnerable in either direction, because remember, Ukraine was able to catch Russia by surprise over in this area, and if Ukraine has not had enough time to build up adequate defenses, preparation for additional attempts at a Russian breakthrough, a push from this direction, let me know. But especially after the Kursk operation started, we didn't see counter operations from the Russian side that focused on like a breakthrough heading towards Khotin, but from the north instead of from the east. There's no road that leads that way anyway. We didn't see huge attempts from Russia to make a breakthrough. When you really look, there aren't that many roads. There's really the road into Ukraine and then into the Russian side going through Sutsa. And then there's, all the rest of this, they would have had to make a breakthrough going toward Shlukiv or, gone through the rest of this land that has no roads built on it anyway, which wouldn't be very efficient for troop mobility in a lot of cases. So, basically, I could be wrong, but I don't think there's a huge concern of Russia trying to make a breakthrough in this direction. Basically, they're just keeping things stable and tactically retreating to then be able to hold the line right here at the border instead of, throwing more troops into the Russian side. But yeah, so far this much is holding. If all of this blue ends up disappearing, and then you see more red appearing, like this road ending up under full fire control, and Russia actually pushing to start occupying territory over here, like they did. Come on. Don't glitch out on me, map. Like over here near Kharkiv. Come on. With this. Thank you. It's being so slow. Like over here near Kharkiv and Belgorod. And even over here, it's been stable. Like they haven't made a big breakthrough. They just have a small foothold right here there we go, on the Ukrainian side. If we start to see more red appear over there, then there's cause for concern, but for now, tactical retreat, it's not the end of the world. They're just leaving, um, slowly leaving the Kursk side. Um, so, anyway, all that to say, I would agree with what Zelensky said. The Kursk operation does appear to be fairly successful. I do wish that the situation were different, where more of Kursk could be held for a longer period of time to more fully force Russia's hand into redistributing troops in this direction. Um, but, you know, mm, I'm sure there are other additional operations, other plans in place for the future. Only time will tell. So far, the situation could be better, but it's really not bad in Kursk. Even if they fall all the way back to the border, as long as they hold on the Ukrainian side. Anyway, those are my thoughts. And, alright, so we're going to go on to the next article. But first, let me put up Q&A. Salt of the Red Earth, welcome. And, let's see. Did the offensive into Kursk help to build defense in East Ukraine? Yes, actually, we did see that. So it did ease up pressure. And, okay, the map was being slow for me, so I really don't want to open it up again right this second. But there were some small breakthroughs for the Ukrainian side heading into the east. So they were able to slow Russians down a bit in the east in certain places. They were able to make some breakthroughs in in a few and build up some defenses. So exactly. Now again, it's still a massive war, and Ukraine desperately needs weapons, ammunition, air defense systems, manpower, personnel, which at this time, there's been talk about peacekeeping troops going into Ukraine, but not combat troops who are going to push to retake Ukrainian territory. So other nations are signaling that they are willing to put troops on the ground in Ukraine, but we got to keep in mind when that happens, it's probably going to create like an East and West Germany situation, but instead an East and West Ukraine situation where, just like look at Transnistria or look at the situation with Abkhazia and South Ossetia in Republic of Georgia. It breaks my heart that, failure to act is potentially putting Ukraine into that situation, but it's more and more looking like it could be something like that, where, except instead of, self-proclaimed republics that are puppets of Russia that get support from them, in this case, Russia itself is directly claiming ownership and control of those occupied territories. So it'll create a different dynamic internationally, but in effect, if there end up being peacekeeping troops on the ground from various other other nations, but Ukraine has not retaken more of its territory, liberated more of its territory from Russian occupation, then really it's going to become, in essence, a Cold War whenever the fighting does finally stop and there's a ceasefire, like a long-term ceasefire, where just like the collapse of the Soviet Union eventually led to Eastern Germany reuniting with the West, a collapse of the Russian Federation would need to happen in order for, the occupied territories to reunite with Western Ukraine. And, I really want Ukraine to take all of its land back now. And I sincerely hope that that will be possible. If it's not, then a lot of us who support Ukraine, the big shift in attention will need to be, okay, what can be done to usher in a breakup of the Russian Federation. And I've said that in other streams before. So, yeah, that's where the situation is at. Keep supporting the Ukrainian armed forces. They do great work. They fight long and hard. They do work that no one else in the world is doing right now, fighting a vicious war of attrition. And they are retaking land in certain areas and doing their best to hold the line so more land doesn't end up occupied by the enemy. Keep supporting Ukrainian troops. That is the biggest thing to take away from this. All right. Now then, on to the next article. This one is from NPR, and I'm putting it into the chat now. All right. Zelensky wants U.S. to hit Russia with maximum sanctions if it refuses a ceasefire. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky speaks during the briefing in Kiev, Ukraine. In Kiev, Ukraine, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said he hopes the United States will apply maximum additional sanctions on Russia if it refuses to accept a 30-day ceasefire, and described Russian President Vladimir Putin's bravado response as a stalling tactic. The Russians say, for example, we support a ceasefire, but, and then after the but, they start coming with various details to delay the process, Zelensky said Friday in a meeting with Ukrainian and international news media, including NPR. Zelensky's comments capped a week of intense dialogue about how to stop Russia's war on Ukraine. The Trump administration has held separate meetings with Ukrainian and Russian officials this week. On Tuesday, Ukraine agreed to enact a 30-day ceasefire. But so far, Russia has wanted to set further conditions before reaching a short-term truce. If Russia agrees to a short-term ceasefire, Zelensky said it would be possible to monitor violations using satellite data, joint intelligence with Ukraine's allies, and reconnaissance drones. Air defense protections must be 100%, he said, if there's a risk of a renewed Russian invasion. After a ceasefire, Zelensky said the most difficult issue is dealing with Russian-occupied Ukrainian territory. Zelensky said this came up in talks in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia on Tuesday between Ukraine's team and the Trump administration representatives, Secretary of State Marco Rubio and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Our partners know our red lines, that we do not recognize the occupied territories as territories of Russia, and we will never recognize them, Zelensky said. Damn straight, absolutely, that is all Ukrainian territory. Speaking in the Oval Office on Thursday, Trump brought up a very big power plant, when talking about possible territorial concessions, likely a reference to the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in the Ukrainian city of Enerhodar. This nuclear power plant, which is not generating electricity right now, is the largest in Europe and has been under Russian occupation since 2022. You can't just say, here's the plant and the city is separate, he said. Zelensky also spoke about Kursk, the region in western Russia that Ukraine occupied last summer in a surprise incursion that embarrassed the Kremlin. Since November, with the help of North Korean troops, Russia has pushed the Ukrainians out of most of the area. Putin claimed on Thursday that his troops had cornered Ukrainian soldiers in Kursk. Trump appeared to echo that in a social media post, saying thousands of Ukrainian troops are completely surrounded by the Russian military, and calling on Putin to spare their lives. Speaking before Russia's Security Council on Friday, Putin said if the Ukrainian forces lay down their arms and surrender, they will be guaranteed life and decent treatment. Donald Trump, I do not recognize Donald Trump as a legitimate president of the United States. I really don't. He's a complete embarrassment. He is a marker of downfall of American superpower status. I mean, if the United States keeps moving in the direction that people like Donald Trump and others around him want to take it, then the United States will just stop being a superpower at some point, unless it becomes the same thing as Russia, a fascist, authoritarian, conquering nation that starts attacking and invading countries it disagrees with. And I hope that never happens. So again, my usual call to action, if you're an American, get angry. Wake up. Get out there. Go to a protest. Get politically involved. Get involved with neighborhood watch, and that could be for elevated crime in your neighborhood. It could be about police brutality or corruption in your neighborhood. It could be on a number of things, but get out there and do something. Maybe you're the kind of person who gets involved politically. Maybe you're the kind of person who doesn't. Maybe you are more interested in activism, in helping out people who are suffering, because those problems are cropping up in the U.S. just like everywhere else in the world. Economically, whatever the case might be. Maybe you're someone who starts doing a community patrol. But inaction is your enemy. Do something. Get out of the house and do something. Get online and start talking about the news. Start making connections with people online. Both, ideally, if you're able to, physically able to. But if not, whatever the case might be, I urge all Americans to do something. Stand up for the sovereignty of Ukraine and the future of their own country. Please. All right. Now then. On Friday, Ukraine's military denied that its troops were encircled and said Russia had claimed this for political purposes and to put pressure on Ukraine and its partners. Zelensky acknowledged that the situation for Ukrainian troops in Kursk is obviously very difficult, but that they had accomplished their main objective, diverting Russian troops from the beleaguered eastern city of Pokrovsk, which has been under attack for months. Hold on, what else do we have? Oh, and that's it. Excuse me, that's it. So, yeah. Rest of it was just pictures on the page. All right, so let me open Q&A, which I didn't do. Oh, Screaming Chinchilla just subscribed. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Thanks for joining. All right. Next. So Q&A is open, and we're going to go on to the next article, which is, again, focusing on getting the U.S. to support Ukraine more, which is it's a big ask. It's damn, I won't say impossible, but it's definitely extremely difficult with the political dysfunction in the U.S. and with a Russian asset in the White House. But this at least is some good news. Some good news. Americans disapprove of Trump's handling of Ukraine war, new polls show. And this is from Politico. Let me put it into the chat. All right. Americans disapprove of Trump's handling of Ukraine war, new polls show. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and President Donald Trump meet in the Oval Office at the White House on February 20... oh, that's a picture. That isn't appearing because it's in reader mode. Sorry. But they had a meeting back on February 28, 2025 in Washington, D.C.
A majority of Americans disapprove of how President Donald Trump is engaging with Russia and Ukraine to end the war between the two countries, according to two new polls released this week. Trump has cast himself as the central figure in brokering a peace in the years-long war that Russia started. I do thank you very much, Politico. I do appreciate your writer emphasizing that Russia started it. Trump has been hot and cold on the Ukrainian leader, Volodymyr Zelensky, since entering office. Trump is just a ball of chaos. He's hot and cold with a lot of people. The man. Have you ever heard the term um, hard times make strong men and good times make weak men? And therefore the cycle of power constantly ebbs and flows across the globe, across different nations. Um, that's the situation right now. The United States has had it very, very, mm, in certain ways, has had it very, very good compared to a lot of other countries, even though in other ways it's grossly neglected and mistreated its people on things like healthcare, for example. The cost of healthcare, but at least the healthcare for the most part would be available, even if you had to become an indentured servant in terms of debt in order to get said treatment. But in any case, the United States never has had it better for the last few decades, and so before that there were hard times for with the Great Depression, and there was of course the wars, World War I and World War II. So hard times make strong men, which make good times, and then good times make weak men, which make hard times. And that's the part of the cycle we're in right now, folks. We went from good times to weak leaders, and from weak leaders we go to hard times. So be ready for the next part of the cycle, which is going to be hard times where we need, and I'll even say strong people. Okay, strong leaders. Strong leaders are going to be needed to get America through all of that and back on the right side, the side of supporting Ukraine, the side of standing by its allies in Europe, in Canada, in Mexico, because Mexico is an ally. Canada and Mexico are both. If the U.S. wants to remain a superpower, they have to remain allies, and messing that up and breaking that would sacrifice American superpower status based off of peace and diplomacy. So, back to the topic of the article, though, because I'm just get so upset reading anything about Trump, I end up going on a tangent. All right. Trump has been hot and cold on the Ukrainian leader, Volodymyr Zelensky, since entering office, and has also repeatedly thrown blame on Ukraine for the war. He has also sought to normalize relations with the Kremlin, while occasionally threatening devastating economic sanctions, and has repeatedly touted his close relationship with Russian President Vladimir Putin. A new poll from CNN released Friday found 59% of Americans said it's not too likely or not at all likely that Trump's approach will bring long-term peace to Ukraine, with 41% saying it's at least somewhat likely. Another 59% disapprove of Trump's handling of the U.S. relationship with Russia, and 55% disapprove of how he's handled the situation in Ukraine. Half of the Americans polled said Trump's approach to the war is bad for the U.S., with 29% saying it's good for the country, and the balance said it didn't make a difference. This breaks down along partisan lines, with 77% of Democrats and 55% of independents saying Trump's approach is bad for the country, while 61% of Republicans said it is good. If that number is true, then it's very concerning. 61%? I hope that number goes down below 50% soon. I hope we see over half of Republicans saying what the hell is going on with not just Ukraine, but a lot of things Donald Trump is doing. Because I'll be honest, 61%, it's actually lower. I thought that it would be closer to 70%, so I guess it being at 61 is a small victory. But I'll be honest, if at the very least, it needs to get down to 51%. It needs to be right down the middle, a split, because that's ridiculous. Quinnipiac's polling released Thursday paints a similar picture, asking voters about the Oval excuse me, Oval Office blowout between Trump and Zelensky. 58% of voters disapproved of how Trump handled it, while 35% approved. Well, 35% is actually lower. So yeah, 58% disapproving. So that's at least that's something. By party lines, 95% of Democrats disapproved, where 77% of Republicans approved, but 68% of independents disapproved. Thank you. Thank you, independent voters who have no party. It lets me feel sane knowing that a bunch of Democrats, the majority of Democrats, a huge number of independents, both disapproved. But again, concerning to me that 77% of Republicans would approve. So, if you are listening and you are a Republican, I want to make it clear I'm not against the whole Republican Party. I am against Donald Trump and MAGA. So if you are a non-MAGA Republican, if you are a conservative or Republican who stands with Ukraine, please, please, I urge you, also get involved. You're part of the equation too. Please get out there and the Lisa Murkowskis, the uh, socially liberal but fiscally conservative folks who lean Republican or identify as Republican, or just in general the classic Reagan conservatives who, those who don't like Donald Trump and the things that he's doing. Please get out there and be a voice, and don't be terrorized. Don't be frightened out of your own party. Stand up. Stand up and say no to this faction, because just like the Democrats, and there are plenty of people I know in the Democratic Party who do not like the party leadership and, more traditional, larger factions within the Democratic Party. If you're a Republican and you're against all this MAGA bullshit, stand up and strengthen your faction. Form a new faction. Form a faction against the MAGA. Please. I urge you. Because that's important, and all of this goes beyond just party lines. It's about common decency. It's about Americans as a whole standing up. But yeah, that doesn't mean disengage. So everybody, please, Democrat, Independent, Republican, whoever you are, do your part, please. We all have to do something and be involved. All right. Now then, I'm going to finish up this article. Trump has previously criticized Zelensky as a dictator without elections and has cast doubt on the wartime leader's popularity. Quinnipiac found that the U.S. voters they surveyed, 43% have a favorable opinion of Zelensky, while 33% had an unfavorable opinion, and 22% didn't report an opinion. CNN's poll was conducted from March 6th to March 9th by independent research company SSRS with 1,206 adults and a margin of error of plus or minus 3.3 percentage points. Quinnipiac surveyed 1,198 self-identified registered voters from March 6th to March 10th with a margin of error of plus or minus 2.8 percentage points. Okay, so all that to say, there are still some numbers that are concerning that I hope change for the better in the future, assuming that this survey is relatively accurate if extrapolated for the entirety of the U.S. But yeah, among Democrats and independents, a large majority disapprove of Trump's handling of the Ukraine war, and among Republicans, there's at least a sizable minority that disapprove of it, but that's not good enough. We need to see that sizable minority grow into at least one half of the party or a majority. Um, so yeah. Uh, Please check out Greg Terry. If you happen to be a conservative or a Republican who really cares about and stands with Ukraine and you're listening, he's a great guy. He is a conservative. He and I, if we were to talk about domestic, issues outside the topic of Ukraine, I'm sure we would probably disagree on several topics. But he staunchly stands by Ukraine. He is a man of honor and respect. And he has done more than a lot of people, myself included. Definitely myself included. I've done a few things, which I'm not going to say I haven't done anything. I have done a few things to support Ukraine within my uh, power within the last 3 years. Um, but that man has done a lot. So definitely go check him out. In fact, I'm going to put a link to his channel in the chat real fast. Hold on. Come on. Open up. There we go. Can I post to Discord? Yeah, I can post to Discord. Absolutely. I'll put it in both. In fact, I think is Greg's channel not already in the Discord? If it's not, then I'll put it in. Let's see. I just realized we don't really have a channel just dedicated to, as a single place to click and find and explore lots of other. Well, we've got one that's like pro Ukraine promotion, but that's for everyone to put things to promote things in support of Ukraine. So, I guess for now I will put it into I'll make a new channel for that, but for now I'll go ahead and just put it into important links. That's really meant to just be important links for the channel, but I'll put it there for now, so people can find the Greg Thierry experience on Discord. Yeah, I'll move that later. Alright, now then. You haven't seen anything from Nightbot? That's so weird, because I see it on my side. Hold on. Okay, now I have to check, because Nightbot is posting when I look, but if it's not showing up for everyone else, then... Okay, that's really good to know. Thanks, McShashdown. Let me look into that, because that's really weird that it'll show up on my side, but not for the rest of chat. Okay, let's see. Go to the stream. I see it on my side when I check from my phone from a different account. Hold up. How's my swear jar going? I actually don't know because especially when I think I said bullshit at least once. I think all I said was, I think all I've said so far this stream is bullshit. Maybe damn a few times. I haven't really said, I haven't actually sworn a whole lot, I don't think, but I also don't really pay attention when I'm really getting into a conversation, so I don't know. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I actually don't fucking remember. So we'll add one to the swear jar with that. But I should also keep in mind that the YouTube algorithm does pick up on that. So if I do swear, it might start to shadow ban me a little bit or toward only a specific audience. So I don't know. I usually don't worry about that too much. Really, what I need to do is I've got several videos ready to post and I need to put them up soon. It's just a matter of time. And pretty soon, within the next 2.5 months, I think I'll be moving. And when I do, I mean, I already travel a lot, but I should be moving for a while to a new place. And when I do, then I think my schedule should clear up enough that that I'll be a lot more focused on pumping out video content. But I do have a few videos that are coming, so keep an eye out for those. I'm gonna have at least one coming out this next week. So yeah, look forward to that. All right. I don't see anyone else reporting about Nightbot right now, so I'm just going to move on from that for now, and we'll come back to figure it out later. Okay. I like the old Bizarre skit where they substitute curse words for U.S. presidents. Haven't seen that one. Let's see. Okay, so we're almost an hour into the stream. We'll go for a little bit longer. What next? We're what would be good? Let me check something. I got some information from Anton recently after our last donation for FPV drones. So let me take a look at that real fast. And let's see. Okay. Perfect. All right, then the next thing we're going to do is, well, we've been focused a lot on Ukraine. Let's do a very quick shift. I'm going to take a look and see about other related areas, because at Tridents Against Tyrants, we speak out against tyranny anywhere in the world, whether it be Putin or Trump or Xi Jinping or the oligarchs in Republic of Georgia or anywhere. We'll cover it all, especially if someone has a personal connection to it. Then I'll do close research on it if someone wants something to have more attention drawn to it. Our primary focus, of course, being Ukraine, because yeah, that is what started this channel, and that is an incredibly important conflict. I won't say conflict. Sometimes people get, when I say conflict, I use that as a synonym for war. But it's not just a conflict, it is a full-scale war. The war in Ukraine is too important for it to be overshadowed or forgotten by anyone, especially in the West. All right, now then. Let's see. Sorry if my cough was right there in the microphone. And you know, now that I've fixed that audio issue, I think my better microphone I was using for a while should be good for me to use again. Let's see. I just need to get it set up again. Well, in Republic of Georgia, there is still resistance and there are still protests. It's not all over the news like it used to be, but there is stuff still happening. And then as far as Taiwan goes, let's take a look. Okay, here we go. We'll cover a bit about Taiwan right quick. As soon as it enters reader mode. There we go. Just took it a moment. Okay, let me go ahead and put this into chat. There we go. And so this is from the BBC. Taiwan calls China foreign hostile force and vows tough measures. All right. In some of its strongest rhetoric yet, amid worsening cross-strait ties, Taiwan leader Lai Ching-te has labeled China a foreign hostile force. He said Taiwan had no choice but to take even more proactive measures as a result, as he announced a raft of new national security measures, including reinstating a military court system and tightening the residency criteria for those from China, Hong Kong, and Macau. In response to Lai's remarks, Chinese authorities called him, quote, a quote, destroyer of cross-straits peace and a creator of crisis. China claims the self-ruled Taiwan as its territory, but Taiwan sees itself as distinct from the Chinese mainland. China was quick to respond to Lai's statement, with China's Taiwan Affairs Office spokesperson Chen Binhua said China would have no choice but to take decisive measures if Taiwan independent separatist forces dare to cross the red line. Those who play with fire will surely be burned. This is not the first time Lai, whose Democratic Progressive Party is seen as pro-independence, has incurred Beijing's wrath. He was previously labeled a troublemaker ahead of the polls, and Chinese state media even suggested he should be prosecuted for secession. Speaking to reporters after a high-level national security meeting on Thursday, Lai also warned of China's growing espionage efforts. President Lai said China had taken advantage of Taiwan's freedom to recruit different members of society, including current and former armed forces members, organized crime groups, and the media to divide, destroy, and subvert us from within. Taiwanese authorities charged 64 people with spying for China last year, a threefold increase from 2021, like claimed. Adding that the majority of them were current or former military officials. To counter China's attempts to infiltrate and spy on the military, Lai said he planned to restore the military court system to allow military judges to return to the front line to handle criminal cases involving active duty military personnel. Taiwan had in 2013 abolished the military court system after it came under fire for its opaque handling of the death of an army conscript. Lai also called on authorities to provide entertainers with guidelines on conduct while working in China, adding that this would prevent China from pressuring stars to behave in ways that endanger national dignity. His comments come as Taiwanese authorities earlier criticized Taiwanese celebrities who shared social media posts calling for Taiwan to be returned to China. Taiwanese actors and singers looking to advance their careers in China's lucrative entertainment industry have come also under increasing pressure to publicly adopt a pro-Beijing stance on the issue. So basically, through a combination of soft power and hard power, you know, the whole world is aware of the fact that China continues to put pressure onto Taiwan and continues to seek ways to undermine the Taiwanese government and force a reunification of the sovereign nation of Taiwan with the People's Republic of China. So, as a reminder, we are doing a fundraiser for radios to provide to Ging Bunhong, his civil defense force that does work, trains in order to assist in case of an emergency situation, in particular in case of an invasion by Chinese troops, to be able to respond and assist Taiwanese emergency response officials and perhaps the military, anyone else who may need it. So, please check that out in the description, or if it's showing up for you in Nightbot when it pops up. Let's see. Alright. Let me go ahead and take a look right quick, see if we have any questions in Q&A. We have one. Question from It Wasn't Me. Do you know how much of the Ukrainian retreat in Kursk is due to the withdrawal of U.S. intelligence? Ooh, that's a very, very good question. I don't know how much of it has to do with that, but it would make sense. It would make sense. Because you have to understand that American intelligence gathering, it's going through a major shift, not just internationally, but domestically right now. Going back to the topic of Ukraine. And not just... I'm very concerned that there will end up being more terrorist attacks or even domestic terror outfits, such as some of the religious nationalists in the American Northwest, or secession groups in places like Texas or Hawaii or Alaska that end up gaining, more membership, and then end up, pushing for, political campaigns of separation or potentially start becoming violent themselves, can differ from group to group. And that's because the FBI right now, just as an example with one agency in the United States, is led by someone who literally believes in QAnon, is a paranoid conspiracy theorist, and refuses his own FBI agent bodyguards, instead opting for private security firms, allegedly, according to news reports. And if he does push for that kind of thing, alternative security forces, it wouldn't surprise me if some of those might come from camps that end up being similarly minded. You know, uh, security forces that, you know, masquerade as such or have ties to militia groups, like like the Oath Keepers, like the Oath Keepers is one example, or Proud Boys, or other, or new groups. New groups can also pop up. So I don't know. I guess we will see over time, if anything is released regarding that in terms of Ukraine specifically. But yeah, I mean, other countries are now pressured to share less with the United States. The United States itself is not wanting to share with allies. It's never shared everything with allies, but you know, now it's refusing to share information with Ukraine, and that's something that directly can affect the security of other neighboring nations, and the current administration doesn't seem to understand that. Um, yeah. Anyway, I kind of went off on a related but still unrelated tangent there. All that to say, U.S. intelligence is still robust and quite knowledgeable, but it's definitely going through major changes now. So I, yeah, I don't know, but I hope that we get an answer to that one day. Thanks for a great question. All right, let's take a look at chat real fast. Uh, a person could get hurt calling folks a Trump. Yeah, for me, if I were ever called a Trump, then those would be fighting words for me, that's for sure. Yeah, no problem. Sorry I don't have a better answer for you. Um, I can only speculate and assume that it may have been a contributing factor, but yeah, I don't have any hard data or or any knowledge of that that's come from my contacts recently that that I'd be able to publicly share. Um, Really, I just haven't heard about that at all from any of my contacts, so I really just don't have anything to share on that topic. But thanks for asking. All right. With that, we're more than an hour into the stream. Um, we'll close out by talking a bit about Republic of Georgia and then call it good. Oh wow, there's a lot here. Hold on. March 4th, March 5th, 11th. Okay, so this is really long. We're just going to cover the part for March 15th. Alright, and this is from civil.ge, which is a news outlet, excuse me, in Georgia. Republic of Georgia. Alright, there we go. Alright. Live blog, Resistance 2025, Volume 2. Omar Okribelashvili allegedly forcibly transferred to Rustavi prison. With the arrival of spring, popular protests all over Georgia continue. Having endured what felt like a long and difficult winter while repression has intensified, Georgia finds itself internationally isolated from its traditional partners. Relations with the EU, the US, and traditional partners are at an all-time low. The Georgian Dream sits alone in the rump parliament, although its two offshoots, People's Power and the European Socialists, try to give the appearance of opposition. It's very smart if they have an offshoot party that calls itself European Socialists, because remember, this is a party, Georgian Dream, that tends to be very far right and has very close links to Russia. But Russia also has a rump, socialist communist party that has a little a little bit of influence within reason and constantly is looking for connections to be made with other countries and political parties, but you know, um, doesn't really have a candle it can hold to Vladimir Putin's political party, um, which would be the ruling political party of Russia, United Russia. Um, and so, yeah, it's smart because then people can say, ah, they're fascists, but then their allies would be a, quote unquote socialist party, trying to give the appearance of opposition. The legitimacy of the parliament, the government, and the new president is hotly contested. Georgian Dream has introduced a series of repressive laws aimed at further stifling dissent, independent media, and civil society. 49 protesters remain in prison on criminal charges, as does the founder and director of Batumelevi Netgazeti, Mzia Amaglobeli. Despite brutal police repression, protesters across the country continue to demand new elections and the release of all those unlawfully detained during the authorities' repression. And for Saturday, March 15th, at 3 o'clock, Republic of Georgia time, Omar Okribelashvili, allegedly forcibly transferred to Rustavi prison. Omar Okribelashvili, who was arrested on May 14, 2024, for allegedly damaging the iron barrier at the entrance to Parliament, causing 400 Georgian lari, or $145 in damage to the state, is reportedly being forcibly transferred from Guldani to Rustavi prison, according to his father and his lawyer. His father said that he had received a call from Omar, who notified him about the transfer. Despite submitting documents to prevent the transfer, Okribelashvili's father says that authorities still intend to transfer him. Confirming the situation, the lawyer said, "We immediately contacted the Special Investigation Service and informed them today that there is coercion against Omar Okribelashvili." Once the state stops caring about the law, there's only so much you can do with a lawyer. So I hope that works out for them. At 11 o'clock, planned protest timeline. The fight for democracy and European integration continues as nationwide protests reach their 108th day, with demonstrators demanding the release of detained protesters and new elections. So it's been more than 3 months, guys. But I want to remind you, the international media is not really paying as much attention as it used to. And when major protests happened in Belarus not too long ago, just a few years ago, they went on for 9-10 months before petering out. And it was a similar thing where international news outlets stopped paying attention. They're still protesting, but international journalists, international news outlets need to cover it. And more importantly, coverage isn't the only thing. There has to be something that happens that really catches the attention of an international audience. Unfortunately, I'm not certain what that would be right now at this point, beyond some major political change or a declaration of a new group against the government. Formal declaration against the government. Something that would, like the Ambazonia situation in Cameroon, something that basically would be a stand against Georgian Dream, um, and an alternative government basically declared. But I don't see that happening so far, and I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon for multiple reasons. So it's difficult. It's difficult to keep attention on this. Anyway, in Tbilisi, today's demonstrations will begin at 1900 near the public broadcaster's office, followed by a larger gathering at 2000 near Parliament. Protests are also spreading across other cities. A solidarity protest in Chiatura at 1300 hours. A demonstration in Gori at 1700 in front of the municipality council calling for freedom for political prisoners, and rallies at 1800 in Akaltsike by the Shota Rustaveli statue and in Zugdidi in front of the regional administration, while in Telavi protests will continue at City Hall. At 1900, citizens in Kutaisi will gather in front of City Hall under the slogan Yes to Europe, No to Russia, followed by a public lecture at 2000 hours. Another 1900 protest is planned in Batumi, titled In Service to the Homeland, in front of the Constitutional Court. Later in the evening at 2000, at 20, yeah, I'm just gonna say 8 p.m. At 8 p.m. at demonstrators in Chukorotsku will continue their daily protests near City Hall, ensuring the movement for democracy and European integration remains strong across the country. So this is still happening. Please don't forget about it. And I feel that's a good everything happening in Republic of Georgia. It's right across. It's across the pond from Ukraine. And while it is a separate country, it still has an effect. Complete domination of Republic of Georgia will mean even more control and more power over the Black Sea for Russia. Turkey is right next to Republic of Georgia, so they don't really want that. But again, unless there's a push from opposition to work much more closely with Turkey, and that's difficult because Turkey is not exactly a liberal country. It is much more authoritarian with its own machinations. It's going to be hard to fight against the Georgian Dream. So, if anyone knows anyone in Turkey who's sympathetic to the protesters in Republic of Georgia and wants to help, please put them in touch with me. You can email me at tridentsagainst-tyrants@gmail.com. All right. What next? All right, let's close this out and take a look right quick. All right. All right. Perfect. Well, thank you for being here, everybody. Yeah, I gotta go. Yeah, I gotta go to take care of a few things. But we will be here again. We'll be here again. I think I actually have an event I need to go attend next week. Family related. Otherwise, next weekend. Otherwise, I'd probably find a way to get out of it. So, might not be Saturday. It might be Friday, or might be Friday that we do the stream next week. But keep an eye out. Keep an eye out for it. And yeah, thank you for being here. Continue to stand with Ukraine. Stand with all people, freedom-loving people, standing against tyranny in their countries all across the world. And Slava Ukraini. All right, have a great day. Oh, wait. Let me double check that there were no last-minute questions. There was one. There was a last-minute question. Has Trump been open about his position on Taiwan? I'm going to answer no. Donald Trump is never really open about anything, and he doesn't care about Taiwan. He might honor a deal to protect the island if he's getting paid for it. But the man is notorious he's notorious as a pretty bad businessman, as a grifter, as a scammer. You know, he's the kind of person who will take your money, then find some kind of justification and say, oh, well, we couldn't help because of this or because of that, or you paid us and you gave your incredibly important national security oriented semiconductor chip business uh, more power over it directly to the US and started opening up new fronts in the United States for it, which didn't start under the Trump administration. That's something that's gone across, you know, discussions about that the first time Trump was in office, when Biden was in office. It's been bipartisan, but he's Donald Trump himself is the kind of person who would see something like that, you know, find a way to get money that goes directly to his own bank account, and then while he's in office say, oh, well, we can't help you because, you know, you violated something regarding the one China policy, and so China's really angry, and, you know, it's unfortunately, because of that, we can't actually do anything. Um, so it's really a 50-50 shot with Trump. Um, and that, yeah, that's horrible, but it is what it is. So, no, I don't think he's really open about his position, but, you know, if he is the president at the time, whenever Taiwan is attacked, whether or not the United States would respond, mm, I think it's really a coin flip, and it'll depend on what the domestic situation in the United States is like at the time. That being said, the United States is pulling troops out of Europe and shifting a focus onto Asia, uh, more onto Asia than before. So I'd say, you know, even though there isn't certainty, there is a better chance, even with a guy like Trump, that the United States would respond only because what's the point of shifting focus from Europe to Asia if you're just going to ignore one of the most geopolitically important islands and allow your global rival to take control without a fight at all? Um, yeah. In any case, I don't think he has been all that open about it. But at the same time, the shift of the U.S. as a whole to focusing on Asia means that even with Trump in power, there might be a better, you know, instead of a coin flip, let's say it's more like a 60-40 or a 65-35% chance the U.S. will respond, meaning it's better than 50-50, but it's definitely not guaranteed. Anyway, I hope that answered the question. Thanks for a great question, Salt of the Red Earth. Again, with that, catching that last minute question, I think we're good. All right. Well then, now we'll go ahead. Now we'll go ahead and close out the stream. Thanks for being here, everybody. Thanks for standing with Ukraine. Slava Ukraini, and have a great day. Bye.